Thank you. Good afternoon. A couple of disclosures. This survey was funded by AstraZeneca, and I have research support from the Bristol-Myers Squibb Foundation. So we've talked about the significant advances that have been made in lung cancer. Dr. Bunn showed us, and Dr. Stiles had a nice graphic, and a lot of that has to do with targeted therapies and testing patients for molecular test is a key component to finding the right treatment. So with that in mind, the IASLC designed a survey internationally to try to evaluate how we're doing with molecular testing, how the physicians feel that we're doing, and understand it a little bit more. So this survey was distributed to IASLC members and healthcare professionals worldwide. We emailed out 34,621 specific links. We also made the link to the survey available through websites and other ways to share. The idea was to get as many people to respond to the survey as possible. We made it available in 7 languages, including English, French, Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, Portuguese, and Spanish, and we translated those into English for analysis and analyzed them all together. So overall, the survey, I'm going to show you a little bit about the survey. We had 108 questions. And we are looking at the frequency of testing, the current practices by medical oncologists and pathologists, and asking specifically about barriers to molecular testing in lung cancer. There was a general section of the survey that went to everyone, and then we had targeted sections for those clinicians involved in acquiring the sample, those involved in ordering the test, and then those involved in analyzing the sample. So you'll see throughout the results of the survey that some questions were specific to the groups, and then some were asked of all 3 groups. 2,537 persons responded to the survey from 102 countries. You can see we got a pretty good geographic distribution of responses. 56% of these responses were from developing countries, 44% from developed countries. Medical oncologists were the highest percentage of the respondents, but we also had good percentage of pulmonologists, thoracic surgeons, pathologists, and then scientists and other made up the remainder. 52% of the total responses were from Asia, 19% from Europe, 11% Latin America, 11% US and Canada, and 7% other. So some highlights of what we found. Of course, with 102 questions, there's some complexity here that we won't get into. But overall, most respondents report that they feel molecular testing rates in their country are less than 50%. However, when we ask specifically about their clinic, they feel they do more than 50%. When we asked specifically what conditions would prompt them to do molecular testing, they reported adenocarcinoma, never smoker, female and young. And then we got some specifics about what they test for. And in the pathology survey, there's a lot of nice detail that we look forward to sharing later. 41% of those who perform and interpret assays report that they're not satisfied with the state of molecular testing in their country. And they also, 17% of those felt that patients were not satisfied. 35% were unsure whether patients were satisfied or not. Some specific concerns that we pulled out from different questions. Some of the physicians that request and treat patients report trouble understanding the results they get back. So about 37% cited that as a concern. The time it takes to receive results was mentioned in several places, and the reliability of the samples was questioned by some. We also found that 33% of all respondents were unaware of the most up-to-date guidelines for molecular testing from CAP, IASLC, AMP. And we also found this varied somewhat by region of the country, with Asia and the rest of the world having the lowest. Then we just asked specifically, what are the barriers to molecular testing that you face? And so we got some free text responses from the respondents, and so we broke that down and found the common the most common themes through all the free text responses. So overall cost is still cited as the most common barrier. Quality, access, awareness, and time were the next four. These five were the same top five barriers in each region of the world, but the ordering was a little bit different depending on region. So I think some regions may want to focus more in some ways versus others. So overall, we're still finding that many in the lung cancer community are not satisfied with the current state of molecular testing. We've got suboptimal awareness of the evidence-based guidelines. We have barriers that remain to molecular testing, which we've identified. And we're recommending continuous education around molecular testing and that it should be intensified on national, international levels to ensure that patients receive optimal therapy. So I think we can use these results to identify some specific ways that we can promote molecular testing more and educate more. So thank you for the opportunity. And I'd like to acknowledge our steering committee who have been wonderful in helping us dig through and interpret these results, and the IASLC and University of Memphis team.